Hello everybody, my name is Nicola and welcome back to my channel. This is the Frugal Cottage where we talk all things money to help you on your financial journey. Today's video is my aim for the year, so my overall kind of aim for the next 12 months. So don't forget to like and subscribe and let's get started. Now I've had this idea in mind for quite a few weeks now and I'm actually really excited to share with you just what I intend to do in the next 12 months. So last year was supposed to be an extreme frugal living challenge and it was to begin with, and then it wasn't. So I thought this year would be slightly different. So if you're new here, I live with my 2 young children and me in our house, and I live on a fairly tight budget, and so my year for 2023 is a frugal living challenge, but it's back to basics. And I do feel excited to start. Not that I don't do things like this anyway, but I feel like the focus and the effort and the mindset of all of that is starting to slowly come back, and I'm excited to do this. So my back to basics year kind of comprises of 3 different elements, and so I thought I'd share it with you and hopefully inspire some of you to join me in this. And I'll do regular updates both on here and on TikTok about my journey through the back to basics year. So the first thing I guess is I have relied a lot on ready meals and takeaways and really unhealthy food for the last 6 months. I have not cared one bit about what I'm eating, what I'm doing, what I'm spending. I haven't tracked spending or anything for ages. I make sure that my children eat healthy, but I have not cared about what I eat. And the first thing I want to do is try and get back to making meals from scratch, batch cooking, all the things that I used to do and I used to really enjoy. So meal planning, I've got a meal planner on my blog that I use or used to use every single week, doing all that kind of stuff, because eating ready meals, junk food, takeaways is much more expensive, but it's really unhealthy, and I'm starting to feel that. My first back to basics element is to do with meal planning, batch cooking, and trying my best to keep us as healthy as possible whilst keeping the budget down. Because the food budget is the one that's the most tricky, because like I said, I make sure that my children eat healthily. They're not great at vegetables, to be fair, but we do eat a lot of fruit in this house, and I am going to try my best to get back into kind of meal planning every week, making things from scratch, not relying on kind of packet or jarred things, and I guess trying to eat less processed stuff, because I'm really bad at that at the moment. And so just really kind of stripping back to the basic food that I used to like cooking, but also it's to do with kind of, I guess, prioritising health a bit more, especially from my perspective. So for me, I need to be not eating so much processed food, not relying so much on kind of grabbing something quick when actually that tends to be more unhealthy anyway. Even the healthy things tend to not be healthy when you read them. So it's more about going back to unprocessed things, taking the time and really kind of managing that. And I think actually once I've got back in the mindset of that, because it's a total mindset thing, when you're in the right frame of mind, all of these things that you talk about on these types of channels and who you watch, it's much easier to do when you're in the right frame of mind. And for the past 6 months I haven't been. I think I have to force myself to get back in that, as much for me as for my children, because I need to do something about it. So the first kind of column of my back to basics year is the food aspect. And I'd be lying if I said I wasn't worried about the rising food costs and, you know, some of the things I used to buy regularly I just can't afford anymore. So it's finding alternatives that my children will eat, which is half the battle at the moment, and also finding things that are cheaper alternatives but still healthy, not processed and all that kind of stuff. I feel like we're going to end up eating more vegetarian meals, but that's not a bad thing. For example, we used to eat salmon quite regularly and it's one of my favourite things to eat. However, the cost of 2 salmon fillets has gone up so much that I can't justify that anymore. So that'll be like a treat rather than a weekly thing, for example. The second column in my back to basics year is to do with the house and kind of doing things, I guess, like we would have used to before we got used to all of this extra stuff. So in terms of the house, I want to go to more kind of, I guess, ethical cleaning methods, keeping the house clean and tidy and cosy without resorting to spending lots of money on different things. I am starting to realise my own kind of style rather than what we've been living in before. So it's all about kind of creating that home that's a safe, happy, cozy environment. And so I'm working really hard on that. So the second kind of column for me is really ensuring that our home is where we want to be, and that includes, and you can remind me about this later, that includes the garden. So I would be the first person to say that I'm not a natural gardener. I don't have the time to spend on it. However, we have a lovely garden, and when I do take the time, and or not take the time but find the time to keep that tidying and, you know, all the plants and stuff, it's a lovely place to be as well. So again, in the kind of the warmer months, I'm going to be looking at growing the flowers that I like, keeping things really nice and tidy, you know, all the things that come with having a garden as well. So that's the second column, is to do with our home and making it a really nice, safe environment for the three of us. And then the third one is to do with social media and the online world. Now I'm someone who spends a lot of time online, whether it's to do with YouTube, my blog, Etsy, but social media, so Instagram, TikTok, not so much Twitter anymore, but definitely TikTok and Instagram. I spend a lot of time on my phone or on my computer looking at different things, and yes, I need it because of what I do online and my online businesses, but at the same time I also waste a lot of my time on my phone or on the computer, especially late at night. I'm really bad at scrolling on my phone and just kind of not even realising the time's going, and I'm really mindlessly scrolling stuff. And one of my aims for this year is to really cut down on that on a night time, because it doesn't help me get to sleep, and sleeping's a real issue at the moment anyway, and I kind of get sucked into different lifestyles and things and stuff, and it's just, I find it quite a lot of pressure a lot of the time. So my aim for this year, yes, I'm going to use it in terms of this kind of stuff because it all links in together, and I don't get me wrong, I love having conversation with people on Instagram, on TikTok, whatever. It's when I'm not doing stuff for me and I'm just scrolling for the sake of scrolling. I want to get back to doing things like reading on a night. I've got so many books in my to be read pile, it's ridiculous, because by the time I actually get to bed I then can't be bothered to read because it's later than I wanted, and I've spent the last hour scrolling on TikTok or whatever. I want to get into a better routine of going to bed at a reasonable time and reading before bed, because I used to do that all the time and I think that helps me sleep. I've just got out of the habit of it. I also want to not have well, my house isn't good enough because X, Y and Z on social media has got whatever, and I think TikTok feeds into that if you're not careful, especially with the type of accounts I follow. So I want to kind of minimise my screen presence when I'm not doing stuff for this, and I think that then that will link into kind of making my house cosy, getting things sorted, batch cooking, being in the garden when it's warmer, because the amount of time I lose to like my phone and that kind of whole world, if I actually looked at that on a weekly basis, I think it would be quite a scary number. And I keep saying, oh, I've got no time, I can't, but I do have time, I just need to be more mindful of how I use that time. And sometimes when I've got my children to sleep, so it's really, sometimes they don't go to sleep till like 9 o'clock, and then I'm so tired that the thought of doing other things doesn't seem very appealing, and yet I'll sit and scroll on my phone for an hour, and that's not useful, it's not productive, it doesn't make me feel better half the time. And so it's being more mindful of that. So social media is going to be a thing for my back to basics year in frugal living, and I think it all links in. So like, you know, I don't want to go back in the olden days because that's not what I mean, but I think that the social media trap, especially when you're maybe not feeling quite yourself or not feeling as content as maybe you were before, social media can feed into that. And so I think it will do me the world of good to actually not be on my phone as much and to be, you know, maybe learning a new skill. Or even I am a really good, and that's not me just being like not modest, I'm a really good piano player and have been. I started learning piano when I was really young, and I used to sit and play the piano quite a lot and sit and kind of take the time and learn new pieces. I couldn't tell you the last time I actually played the piano for me. And so things like that is so much, it makes me feel so much better, and I love it, and it's a skill that I have, and it is a skill that I have. And that would be much better for me on so many levels to sit and play the piano for an hour than it is to scroll on my phone for an hour. And so I want to get back to that kind of thing. I want to do things that are good for me in terms of just general well-being and not scrolling on my phone. So the 3 columns for my back to basics year are kind of food and looking after myself and batch cooking, the house and making it feel safe and homely and a nice place to be, which to be fair it now is, but it's just continuing that. And the 3rd one is the less screen time and more, I guess, more things in my mental and kind of well-being side of things that aren't relying on other people online. And I am so excited about this, and I should probably put that all of these things don't necessarily mean me spending money. It absolutely doesn't. In fact, most of the time it won't be, because I don't have any. So all of these things in general should either help me save money because I'm not spending it on things like takeaways, or, you know, spending time in the garden and being outside is kind of good for my health, and it's, you know, the boys love being in the garden when it's sunny and it's a nice place to be, and it's better for them rather than sitting on, you know, watching the TV or whatever. And then social media, it's about being more present, isn't it, and about being more in your own life rather than looking at everybody else's. And so the 3 things combined, I'm so excited to see where the next 12 months brings me. And when I look back at the year, so I tend to do a reflection, so I did my reflection on 2022 video went up yesterday, so check that out if you haven't seen it already. When you reflect on the year that's gone, I want to be able to sit on the 31st of December 2023 and look at a different person and say, you know what, I've made it, and this year was 1000% better than the last. And that's all down to me, and that's all down to me really focusing on what's important to me and my children. So that is my year of back to basics living. So I hope you're going to join me. What do you think about it? Let me know down below your thoughts about that. I am excited about this. I've been planning this for a while, and in some ways I'm like, why do I need to wait till the 1st of January to be able to do all this? But I always feel like the first day of a new year is always like a reset point, and I'm hoping, considering just how bad 2022 was, I'm hoping that that will definitely be the case for 2023, and 99% of that is down to what I do. So here we go. Let me know if you're joining me. Let me know if you've got any ideas. If you've got any lovely budget vegetarian meals, can you leave them down below, because I feel like I can't afford meat anymore very often, so I'll have to do that. And yeah, thank you for joining me as always. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you aren't already, and I will see you on Tuesday with my goals for 2023.